Welcome to House of Horrors. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and I hopped on a little early, and I guess I didn't prepare myself here and didn't have everything ready to go. So here we go. We're here for the Rams post game show as Matthew Stafford throws 4 touchdowns as the Rams rout the 49ers 42-26. I'll have Gilbert Manzano join me in a little bit. I just wanted to hop on right away because this was a big win for the Rams, and so I wanted to make sure that we got on here and got your thoughts. We already have Delver's comments on here as well. We'll get to it. But I mean, it was a great showing by the offense in this game. Shout out to the defense; they played great, but I just thought the offense, Matthew Stafford again, 4 more touchdowns in this matchup. Third straight game with 4 or more touchdowns, which I believe was what did I have here? Stafford has thrown 22 straight touchdown passes without an interception, which is the second longest streak in NFL history. Only Tom Brady has had more, 26 in which he had 26 in 2010. This is the third straight game that the Rams have completed a pass to all 4 of their tight ends. Uh, I mean, so much with the offense here. Devontae Adams now has 8 red zone touchdowns this season. And then one more thing, the Rams have now scored 34 plus points in 3 straight games. They're the only team in the NFL that has done that this season. I mean, it's just, I think starting off, what's been impressive too is just the fact that they continue to go to the 13 personnel. And I talked about it, I think a couple of weeks ago with Gilbert, and I said it feels like the injury to Puka Nakua might have been a blessing for this team offensively because it seems like things have opened up since then. You're starting to see Matthew Stafford be more be able to pass the ball around. I think in this game again, he hit 8 different receivers, so that's good to see. I mean, Puka Nakua had 5 catches, 64 yards, and 1 touchdown. And I keep going back to the 13 personnel. They ran it in this. They used it in this matchup. 48% of the plays, which they got 6.73 yards per play, with a 63% success rate, which is the highest grouping for both 11 personnel and 13. 4 of their 6 touchdowns came on that 13 personnel. And I thought a couple things too when they got in the red zone using that big heavy personnel against this 49ers that just doesn't have the pass rushers to be able to do anything to against this Rams offense. I thought it was really great for them to use it, and it came through for them. And so it's just been a revelation now. And the fact that they make this game so easy, we both, Gilbert and I, expected this game to be close, as it's always been with these two. We saw it in the first matchup, and now in this game, is they just were all business in this game, especially offensively. And then shout out again to Nate Landman. Um, he forced another fumble in this game. He has now 9 in the last 3 years, which leads the NFL. Quinn Lake played great. He got an interception there on that 2 point conversion, and then Emmanuel Force with the second straight game with an interception. It's just been impressive these last. And we talked about it. I thought at the beginning of this stretch now where they won all these games in a row, they weren't playing anybody. You know, you play the Saints, you play the Jaguars, and you blow them out. The fact that you did it against a division rival, you go up to Santa Clara, and you pretty much put it on them. This is what you want to do when you're starting out a 3 game stretch where you're trying to prove to people that you are a Super Bowl contender. And then you add to that the fact that Matthew Stafford now is in that MVP conversation, and then he added to it with another four touchdowns against this 49ers defense. And so it sets up everything now. Seattle took care of business at home against the Arizona Cardinals, and now we get a great divisional matchup of the 2 teams in first place right now between the Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. So I can't wait to get everybody's reactions. Uh I'll start off with Delbert. He says the Rams played the Rams played with a lot of grit. That the Rams the reason to be pleased that the Rams I expect to see. Kudos to the O line, 13 personnel, kicking game, Stafford, Landman doing his Virgil Ortiz impression. And one more thing to that comment as well, as we said, we talked about it during the preview show. They went with uh Dicker the kicker there, Mavis. Uh, it sounds like he's going to be the guy going forward. I wanted to see if they were going to use him in this game in terms of field goals. They had an opportunity there. I think it was in the third quarter. It was like 4th and 2. They were in 49ers territory where they could have kicked the field goal, but Sean McVay, I thought, made the right choice there, being aggressive and going for it on 4th down. That led to another touchdown there, and so as long as we don't need to talk about the special teams for the Rams, it's always a good game for them. And so I just thought the fact that they went with Mavis, the thicker the kicker, that just says that once you left it up to Sean McVay making the decision, you knew they were gonna change. They were gonna go away from Joshua Carty, which sucks. As we talked about, some of it, not everything is his fault as to what's been going on. But hey, when you continue to struggle in that department, it's gonna cost somebody their job. And listening to the special teams corner Chase Blackburn and then also Sean McVay, it seemed like they were in lockstep in terms of what they saw was the issue with the kicking game. So once they were in coordination uh, and you didn't see McVay blaming the special teams coordinator, that's when it just became about the players. Then they had an open competition, and then by Friday, they named Mavis the kicker for this game, and so it sucks for Joshua Carty. It sucks that they spend a draft pick in this. It sucks that they use a draft pick on a kicker, but honestly, at this point in the season, you can be messing around with your special teams, trying for them to figure things out. So it is what it is now, and now you just go forward. And it sounds like it might be Mavis. And they said that he McVay did say that don't expect Joshua Carty to go anywhere, but it's hard for me to see him kicking again, kicking again this season unless Mavis gets hurt for some reason. But another comment here from Gilbert Dixon says Stafford's masterpiece. He's the MVP, and I think you're going to start seeing the push now, especially with what he's done. With the fact that, as I said, he's got 25 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. And then the other thing too is Matthew Stafford also reached his 400 touchdown passes in this game, becoming the 9th quarterback to ever hit that milestone. So a lot to get into. Continue to send your takeaways from this matchup as we wait for Gilbert to join the show. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was from this game as I prepare things here. As I'm gonna produce and talk at the same time here. So bear with me as we wait for Gilbert to join us. But another good game by the Rams, and it's a good start. It's a good start for them for this 3-game stretch. 49ers, Seahawks, and then the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers did not look good against the Patriots today, so they still have a lot of injury concerns there with the Buccaneers. And then the good thing is that the next 2 games for the Rams are at home. These 2 big matchups, and I know everybody's going to be talking about this Rams Seahawks game coming up, but I just want to stay on this game, this big win against the 49ers, because we've seen what it's been like for the Rams against the 49ers. They've struggled in the past, and for them to blow them out in this matchup, I thought was really impressive. Let's see if we can get Gilbert if he's ready. Give me a thumbs up, Gilbert, if you're ready to go. Whenever you're ready, there we go. Got Gilbert ready to go. So let's add him on here, and let me move some things around. All right, Gilbert, give me your takeaways from this win against the 49ers while I set up things here for us.
Yeah, no, that was a big time victory. Hopefully, Rams fans here at House of Horns are excited about that victory. That was a big time win. That was a signature victory. I don't want to hear this crap about the 49ers being shorthanded. It's any given Sunday, and the Rams needed to get revenge for what happened in Week 5 at SoFi Stadium. They showed they're a better team from that game. And I always say this: that game in Week 5, where it was a lot of Puka Nakua early on, because there was a lot of focus on Puka Nakua from that 49ers defense. And I felt like in the second half, where the Rams started coming back, was like, okay, let's start spreading the football around. Let's get other playmakers involved. And ever since that Week 5 loss, I felt like McVay has been committed, more and more each week. I know the Puka Nakua injury, sucks, but also it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise. So I know I'm talking about game one a lot, but to bring it up back to game two from the past month, everything that we saw develop for the offense came through in a big way. You got four tight ends involved in the scheme here. Uh, Kobe Parkinson, Tyler Higbee, Davis Allen, Terrence Ferguson, and you still have your weapons contributing, and Devontae Adams and Puka Nakua. I just listed 6 playmakers in this offense. I didn't even got to Kyron Williams, who had 2 touchdowns and a good rushing performance. So again, I saw subtle movements of Sean McVay finally saying, all right, 11 personnel is great and all, but we got so many other weapons. It's time to get it going. He admitted it himself in London in that Jacksonville game. And to his credit, he hasn't gone away from that. He keeps developing and finding new ways to evolve this offensive scheme. And honestly, it's probably the right thing to do because you got that juggernaut that's coming from Seattle, also very creative defensively. A team that you don't know too much about. I know you played them last year with Mike McDonald, but these guys are on a collision course, but creative, tweaked, revamped schemes offensively, defensively, and I can't wait for it. And I know these games were crappy in terms of the late window with Seattle blowing out Arizona and the Rams blowing out the 49ers, but we're going to get an epic showdown in week 11, a game that I deem one of the best games of the regular season. At my story at si.com, check that out for the best 15 games remaining this season. But that was a very long-winded answer, but it was just great to see this new scheme. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Scheme from McVay on display against a rival, and he pretty much treated them like a preseason game, and that's what you want to see if you're a Rams fan.
Yeah, and as I said too, I mean, even Blake Corum, had some good runs there as well, and
Yeah.
it just seemed like they just toyed with the 49ers. Yeah, they made it close. It felt like um they made it close in the second half there to start the third quarter, but it just never felt like this game was close. It felt like the Rams were the superior team, and it just feels like they found something now with that 13 personnel. As I said, they now, which I saw Jordan Rodriguez's tweet where she was talking about, somebody asked her if the 13 personnel, if the Rams are the ones that are using it the most, and they are by 3% over the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, and then as you mentioned with the tight ends, every tight end now has scored a touchdown in the last 3 games. They're all getting involved. They're involving everything, and it's just, you want to give credit to the offense here, but also the defense kind of showed up here. And I want to share this comment here by Don Ma- Malatesta, where he says, "Extend Landman now." Unfortunately, I doubt the one thing we can expect from the front office and the Rams is that they don't want to pay their defensive players unless it's one of their blue chippers. I think eventually you'll see Jared Verse and Kobe Turner, and they just don't want to pay for linebackers. So that'll be something to keep an eye on, Gilbert.
Yeah, I thought this defense also showed out. I know it was more of an offensive performance, but I thought it was still a good defensive performance. And everybody's raving about Nate Landman as we should. And Yeah, we'll see if he gets extended or not, but I think he's done enough to carve out a role with the Rams to say, "Hey, Leslie, you don't have to pay me a bunch of money like Zach Vaughn and the Eagles did with Howie Roseman there, but something where he gets a little more security because he's earned it. He's earned a new contract, and it's one of these things where you want to work it out on both sides because Nate Landman saw how it is in Atlanta. It wasn't really utilized. He has a fit here with Chris Shula, who's starting to get attention for head coaching opportunities. So if they keep, you know, doing as well as they have been, maybe Shula's on the way out for different opportunities, but maybe that's a little premature. But regardless, if Shula's around, I think he's going to pound the table and say, you know what, I want Nate Landman in the middle of my defense. He makes a difference for a secondary that's still trying to find its way. And even Emmanuel Forbes had a nice game today, and he's been up and down. But you got the front with Byron Young. I'm still waiting for more dominance from Jerry Verse, but that was a good front performance today from everybody collectively. And yeah, they got a little close, in the second half, like you mentioned, Victor. The offense was just too hot. They were rolling. There's gonna be no stopping that offense. So they came to play. There was no zombie walking in the first half. There was no self-inflicted turnovers, in the second half, like in that first meeting against the 49ers. So overall, it was a good performance, and it was such a route that I was not really paying attention to the second half as much as I should have. But hopefully, the kicker did okay there, and maybe you could let me know about that one. But overall, offensively, I really liked what I saw, and I really liked what I saw from Seattle's defense to just set up this epic showdown that we're gonna break down on House of Horns on Wednesday because it's gonna be one of these games where I feel like you know, I won't say the NFC West will be decided this early, but whoever comes out on top of this two-team race, let's call it two teams now. Sorry,
Yep.
49ers are out of it. Seattle and LA, they might be one of the clear favorites to hang with the Eagles in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I was just gonna note in terms of what you were saying with the Rams, and then the second half when it kind of got out of hand. And my biggest thing, as I continue to watch this game the rest of the way, was how were they gonna use and what were they gonna do to put this game away. And the fact that they went with that heavy personnel, it just showed me like, hey, they're committing to it. And then the other thing, Gilbert, as I mentioned before you hopped on too, outside of all the milestones that Matthew Stafford reached today, um, is just seeing them go to Devontae Adams in the red zone. He has 8 touchdowns now in the red zone, which is, as I mentioned, they continue to use him in the red zone. I thought it was brilliant use of the 13 personnel, especially in the red zone. There was one drive there where they didn't they had um it was Kyron Williams and Puka Nakua were in the sideline during that 13 personnel on that red zone drive. It was Blake Corum in the backfield. It was Devontae Adams as a receiver, and it was three of the tight ends, and they scored on that. And that just it goes back to what you mentioned when you talked about your takeaway. This thing can beat you in so many ways, and it's good to see now Sean McVay get into his bag and be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I don't know if he was thinking about Seattle in any way, but you needed to evolve this year, and Sean McVay, to his credit, did that. We're still waiting. Here's the thing about Sean McVay: we're still waiting for one of these close games to see if his game management has improved
Yep.
from that Week 5 game. But to their credit, they're blowing out everybody since that game. So they're handling business, they're flexing their muscles. I think it was fitting that the 49er game came up first in this, I guess, stretch of better teams to kind of put that away, that week 5 and everything you saw in Philadelphia. You needed this dominance game and to say, okay, we're not that same team to close the book there. And now you move on to Seattle, you move on to the Buccaneers, you got the Lions later on. So, you know, everything before that, maybe forget about it. Even that Colts win, don't brag about it. We're gonna stop bringing up week 5. We're gonna stop bringing up the Philadelphia game. So it's like a new season here. And I think Rams fans should be very excited about this offense because, for the first time, I'm starting to see, all right, maybe the ceiling is higher than divisional exit. Maybe they could go all the way. I still got to see what the secondary can do against a better offense, but this defense is clicking. Nate Landman is really the glue of the defense. That's something that we did not expect in the offseason or even training camp. I know we heard or we saw shades of it in the preseason, Nate Landman balling out, but the preseason is not the regular season, and he's holding his own there. So, I'm not saying the Rams should be in a one-score game. They might very well in the next couple of weeks here. We'll find out about that aspect, but the way he's just getting everybody involved, and not just Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, man, he looks. The thing about McVay and Stafford, they're kind of they were a little bit stubborn in their ways because their ways are very successful, and Stafford had a habit of really feeding his best players, but the way he just spreading the ball around, he's so efficient. He's playing clean football. He's not predictable. He's not force feeding anybody, and everybody's still getting their touches. That's the great thing here. A guy like Devontae Adams, who's always pissed off when he's not getting the football, like he's not getting a lot of volume, but he's getting touchdowns, and you're getting
Yep.
victories. Touchdowns and wins are a big way of keeping the star receivers happy. Puka Nacua is always going to find his touches and his targets, and there was a couple of times he had some big first down conversions to move the chains, and Puka Nacua is still Puka Nacua. But man, I know I've been in a little critical of the Seattle defense. The Seattle overall getting a lot of hype, but to their credit, they also handle business. So, it's going to be an exciting game next week. But I know I'm kind of looking ahead a little bit because that game is big. But I think it was a nice victory to close the chapter of a chaotic up and down, 5 weeks to the season for the Rams here.
Yeah, and you asked about Mavis and the thicker kicker, and there was an opportunity there where they could have kicked a field goal. It was like 4th and 2. They were at the 49ers, around the 49ers 30. But I thought they went with they made the right move to go for it there. It led to a touchdown. He was good on all his PAT, so that's what you want here. As long as and it just
Yeah.
feels like I explained before you hopped on. It just feels like they're just gonna go with him the rest of the way, Gilbert. And it sucks that they
Yeah.
wasted a draft pick on Joshua Carty, but you can't be messing around. Once you left it up to McVay to make the decision and they brought in competition, they that's what they decided to go with. So
Yeah.
yeah, and now you don't have to worry about your special teams until you start missing field goals again.
Yeah, one thing that's overlooked from like or a difference between the good coaches and the bad coaches that I think the ones that are bad are way too long to make moves, and the ones that are good gamble early and make risky decisions, or they nip it in the butt before it becomes too much of a problem. Like, I know it's a big topic right now, like Dan Campbell stepping in and John Morton with the play calling. You know what? I'm gonna take over here, John. Sorry, it's not working. It's only 5, 6 games into the season, but they might look back on it and say, you know what, that was the right move, Dan Campbell. You look at a guy like Raheem Morris, former Rams, he was a coordinator, not doing anything offensively, not stepping in to save the season. That's a bad look. Jonathan Gannon not stepping in to save the season with the Cardinals with Kyler Murray up and down. These coaches need to step up. You're the head coach for the reason. You're the CEO. You make the tough decisions, and you got to step up and figure out what's not working. And Sean McVay, I know people were a little, kind of tired of the 11 personnel, but it was working for a long time. So
Yep.
that was one for him that was hard to give up. But he had little shades of tweaking it with the gap running scheme a couple of years ago. Now he's revamping the passing game. You got to get ahead of it. You got to be ahead of the trend. You got to get ahead of minor problems that could become bigger problems to derail your season. So taking over for the kicking job and saying, you know what, Cardi, you're out. Bring in Mavis, and yeah, we still got to see if Mavis can make field goals. We still got to see if McVay's better in late game management. We still got to see if the secondary could, hang against a better quarterback. But man, the offensive scheme is rolling. You have a great front, and we're gonna find out about the other areas. But that's just nitpicking at this point. Again, I think I'm ready to say this team could do a lot better in the division round because of what they showed in the past month here.
Yeah, and I'll make one last point before we get to these comments because I want to make sure we get everybody here involved. I, and one of the trends we're seeing this year, Gilbert, to your point, is a lot of teams are going to heavy personnel this season, and they're throwing out of it. And one of the teams you're going to see in this game coming up is both the Rams and the Seahawks. I don't know if you saw uh, Greg Olson's tweet where he was talking about the Seahawks are using their big heavy personnel to throw out of it, and that's how they're winning games. It's not that they're setting up the run, is that they're setting up their with their big personnel, they're being able to go and throw the ball out of it. So I think this is going to be a great matchup to kind of get into that into it when we get to it on Wednesday, Gilbert. But let's get to these comments here. Let me start off here. I've already talked we already mentioned Delber's comment and then Gilbert's comment. Let me start off here with Alexander H. He says, Rams showed up, got me nervous in the middle, but glad we were okay to pick apart the 49ers defense. Pretty much the game I expected the first time around. And I mean, yes, like until they decided not to show up in that first half and then made it closer towards the end. And then he's asking if Adams is okay. He left this game. It looked like he got like back spasms, Gilbert. I kept checking while you were talking. I still have not Devontae. Uh, I did get there is a quote here from Adam Grossbart. It says, the only thing I have from Devontae is that it looked like the MVP played to me all year. So uh, so he's supporting Matthew Stafford as the MVP so far, but don't have any. I would my guess would be that the reason we didn't see him again is because it was out of they were up ahead by so much, and so why risk it there by bringing him back?
Yeah, and then yeah, if Devontae Adams is speaking, that means he's fine. A lot of times, what the PR people do for NFL teams, if they're clearly injured, they won't make them available. And also, too, it's kind of like an easy way for players to ditch the media. Oh, I'm hurt, I can't talk. And for Devontae to talk, I think it says that he's probably fine here.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I want both sides, Seattle and LA, to be at full strength here for this big matchup. And yeah, you're right. Both of these teams are setting the trend here with big personnels, but Devontae Adams, we should probably talk about him more. There was a little risk involved in signing him. The way they paid him too was a lot of money for a guy in the back end of his prime. I was okay with the signing because you're all in this year to win the Super Bowl. You had a Super Bowl ready roster. I kind of was a little critical when they weren't as aggressive in the draft for a ready-made roster that needed help here. But now that Falcons pick, man, that might be a top 10 pick.
Yep.
So they're pressing all the right buttons here. And then now Ferguson's getting involved, the second round pick here. So yeah, I've been critical of this team, but I'll say this, and this is something to make myself look bad here. The Rams have a way of making it very interesting where I could be critical, like they don't look good here or they don't look good there. That was a weird decision. I don't know about that one. But then November rolls around, December rolls
Yep.
around. They're right in the middle of the race. That's been the case from 23 to 24 to 25. I'm record wise, that wasn't an issue this year. Personnel decisions and scheme decisions was a little bit on my radar for this. Maybe it's a red flag for this team, but here they are again, making me look bad because I was, and that's just the way I am. I need to see more before I jump all in. But they're really impressing right now. Devontae Adams, that pickup is big. Even guys like Puna Ford, they're and Nate Lamb, obviously one of the better picks of the year or signings of the year. So overall, everything is clicking for this team at the right time. But again, we're going to see a lot more next week and then the week after that. But this was a big victory to just close a chapter on a little bit of a rocky start to move forward.
Yeah, and part of it too. I mean, I think you had the right approach because the offensive line wasn't playing well. They were hurt, and now everybody's healthy. As long as that offensive line it can stay healthy the rest of the season, then they should be able to continue this run that they're in right now. That's the biggest thing, Gilbert, is they have to stay healthy the rest of the way. Let me continue on here with these comments. Justin Brown with the great point here. 0 penalties for 0 yards. That's going to win you games, Gilbert. Limiting the penalties. That means you're not, in first or second and long, and you're able to have positive plays. So that's a good one. That's a good one. Brian Smith says the Rams beat the 49ers twice, if we're being honest, and they should have taken care of business. Unfortunately, they didn't. Henry Camacho says the Niners online did a good job. Rams were just too much on offense. Defense is just enough with the 2 turnovers. McVay was renting Shanahan's headspace. That's a good comment there at the end, Gilbert.
Yeah, those are rivals right there, and they split, and that's just the way it goes for rivals in the same division. They play each other all the time. They worked with each other. They know each other very well. But yeah, they definitely got the best of them this time around. And before you move on to the comments here, uh,
Yeah.
one note I did look at the odds right now. The Rams are favored -2.5 at home against the Seahawks. And then I saw that it's a 105 clock. Like, show more respect to this game. It should be a 125 or a primetime game. But then I saw the rest of the schedule. It's Broncos, Chiefs at 125. I think Seahawks, Rams is better than that. And then you got
I agree.
you got Eagles, Lions at Sunday Night Football, which I think that's a pretty good game too, though.
Yeah, and then they should probably they won't do this, but uh Monday Night Football is Cowboys
Yeah,
Raiders. I don't think they're gonna move that. Not
I wish.
because it's just the brand names, even though it's probably gonna be a garbage game, unfortunately. But you just don't move a game like this to Monday Night Football and this late in the season. I mean, this close to the game, I should say. But you're right. I mean, it kind of sucks that it's a 105 game, but a lot of people here in LA and in Seattle are going to be locked into it. And I'm sure most of the, people who can get not red zone, who have Sunday ticket will be locked into that game more than the Chiefs and Broncos. But let me continue on here with the comments. Brian Smith says that 13 personnel has been huge. He also says, I think Shula is sitting on the D. So he might be kind of playing possum now, and he might be showing something different against Seattle coming up, because that's a whole different way of going up about a team that plays heavy personnel as well.
Yeah. The thing about them though, about Seattle, is just like, they don't have like a Saquon Barkley, so I don't know how beefy you have to be defensively to counter there. But again, you have Nate Landman. You have a good front there, which is I haven't looked at the numbers. I should, but I could tell from the games they've been better against the run this year. So
Yeah.
that's an improvement. It's not just about the run. You got to defend a lot of guys too. And I know Nate Landman's strength is not really in the pass game. The cornerbacks have to be on it, but it was a good maybe. I know Emmanuel Forbes, that's his thing. It's ball hawking and turnovers, and that was his thing in college, and not so much in the pros. But that could be a confidence booster. So a game like today, where everything was clicking, and yeah, maybe you're not the best in the secondary, but it's a confidence booster. It's things that it shows Chris Shula. Okay, we could trust this guy. We could have this rotation. We could scheme it up this way, and especially when the game got a little bit out of hand, and you know the the second part of the third quarter through the fourth quarter, you don't have to show as much. You go to start thinking about what you
Yep.
can do against Seattle. Like there was a little bit of benefit there from having a route there in the second half.
Yeah, and I'm with you, especially you don't want to show as much. And then the other thing I was going to say in terms of Seattle, there's two things I'm going to give you already just to get you ready for this preview on Wednesday. They don't run the ball well. Seattle doesn't. It doesn't matter who it is. Even if it's Charbonnet or if it's K9. But the other thing too that I saw a stat this week, and I was saving it for Wednesday. But did you know that Seattle has only led they've through this season so far, even now counting the Cardinals game, they've only trailed in a game for only 48 plays this season. That's it. They've been
Yeah,
ahead. So you got to make sure that you play ahead in this matchup against Seattle, because they haven't had to be. They've been able to be ahead, and that's how they've been able to beat. And I can't wait to get to that matchup on Wednesday, because you're not a big fan of the Seahawks. So we'll just
it's not
save
that
it.
I'm
I
not
want
a
to make
fan.
sure we save
They're
your
just overrated, and I think a
yeah,
lot of people were jumping on the bandwagon a little too soon. And I think the
yeah,
Rams are a little more established than the Seattle
right.
team. But we're gonna find out. We're gonna break it all down. But like I mentioned too, and I'm done being critical of the Rams because today was a big time performance. But even the Rams had their own flaws, and I already listed a couple of them. With we got to see more from Mavis. We got to see more from the secondary. We got to see a whole bunch more. So the thing about this matchup in week 11 is like I'm excited for the creativity, but I'm also excited for the mystery. Like
Oh
are
yeah.
we convinced that both of these teams are legitimate threats to the Eagles? To me, they're still the standard in the NFC. The Lions are still trying to work their way back, but beating the Commanders says nothing to me really.
No. Yep.
But you know,
I think
it's a lot of
tomorrow's matchup, and
that's
that
yeah,
also like
yeah,
helps with continue to win because tomorrow matchup between the Eagles and the Packers. If the Packers beat the Eagles, that kind of gives the Rams a little bit of a leg
yeah.
up because they have the tiebreaker over them.
Yeah, it definitely because if the Eagles fall a little bit behind, then you're talking not just NFC West first place, you're talking about like for the conference too. So yeah, it's a lot going on here. I think there is like a cluster of a second tier in the NFC because I think the Eagles are still the standard. They revamped their defense too. We haven't seen it yet because they're on a bye week. But a lot to be determined, a lot. But it's just exciting that the Rams are in the talk for number one seed. They're in the talk for the NFC West title. They're in the talk for big time showdowns against Seattle and Detroit and Tampa Bay, and they're all coming up. So,
Yep.
yeah, you want to be peaking at this time of year. I know people say, "Oh, it's Thanksgiving." I think it's
No.
week 10 and on. Week 10 to
Yep.
week 15 where you're supposed to be at your peak because then after that you want to be in the getting ready for playoff modes unless you're fighting for something. But this is the time of year where you want to be, starting to make that ascension.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let me just get to a couple comments here, and then we'll leave Gilbert because I know you have to go cover this game, this Sunday night game.
Yeah.
Henry Camacho says this game showed the talent difference. McCaffrey can only do so much. He had good plays along with Kittle, but the Rams talent showed up, and that I mean they're so hurt over there with the 49ers. I wanted to get this comment in. Don Joaquin Quijada was on Compas on the beat. He was doing a bunch of he was commenting on there and so I appreciate it. I did see your comments there, Joaquin. We just kind of had already gone past talking about the Rams, so I do apologize for that. Jesse Siles, who's also been leaving comments, he says this offense is cooking. And then Brian Smith says he doesn't think Mavis is the answer. I don't think so either, Brian. I just think he's kind of a patchwork issue, right? Like he's just gonna take care. He's kind of like the duct tape right now. You're just trying to get through and fix this a special teams issue, and then I think you probably will see a new kicker next season. Um, and then Joaquin again says 14 straight points gave me a scare, but was at ease once McVay got the ball back to the run game. Blake Corum put his best performance together as a Ram, which I agree with. And then I wanted to get to some people that I haven't seen before here. Dark Heart says time for the faithful to blame everyone and everything from the Revs to the Sun was in their ears and everything in between. The Worm says Darnold will have a big case of the yips next Sunday once he sees those horns coming at him. And then again, he's asking any word on Devontae's back injury. Gilbert said that if because he was in the locker room talking and he did give a quote about Matthew Stafford, being the MVP all season. And so having him talking about it, I think he got back spasm. He's probably would have been back in the game had they not been up by so much. So yeah. And Brian Smith says Cardi's not done. He's working with the team psychologist. So it might be we'll see. I mean, he is on a rookie contract, so there's no reason, but I just feel like they're gonna bring somebody in during the offseason to if that continues as well. Gilbert Dixon says next week's game is huge. I trust McVay Shula to lead the way. And so great to hear from everybody. Love the comments here from everybody. Really appreciate it. And then yeah, it's a good matchup to get ready for next 2 weeks. Like we said, it was a good matchup to uh, get the 49ers out of the way, avenge that loss. Now you get the Seahawks and the Buccaneers the next 2 weeks at home. Take care of business. You need to stack up wins. You need to make sure that the NFC goes through the Rams here at home in LA. So yeah, Gilbert, good, a big win for the Rams today as they now are continue to be tied for first place in the NFC West.
Yeah, no, it's good to see all the comments here. People excited for the big time victory. Again, I think it's the best win of the year so far, but I'm assuming many bigger games are coming up on the horizon for them to make the most of this momentum that they have going on here. So, yeah, two 7-2 teams going at it next week for first place in the NFC West. That those are the games that you want to be part of. So, on that note, and also promo, check out Wednesday's show, House of Horns for Rams versus Seahawks Part 1. We're gonna do a full preview on Wednesday, so keep it locked in here. But if you missed the live show here for the recap of Rams versus 49ers Part 2, leave a comment. We always want to check out the comments, and we already saw the comments here. So thank you for that. But it's time to get going. Ya nos vamos, pues. Vámonos.